On today's episode of the Arrival Lounge, we are chatting to Sarah Hewitt, who is New World Immigration's licensed IAA advisor, which means that she processes all of New World Immigration's New Zealand visa applications. So if you're thinking about making New Zealand your new home, then stay tuned because we've got so much juicy information for you in terms of applying for your visa and finding that perfect job. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Robbie.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. You are New World Immigration's New Zealand principal, so managing our New Zealand division. And I think today what would be great would be to talk about what's happening with New Zealand. Specifically, most of our audience that are watching this are quite interested in exploring New Zealand as a migration destination, and it would be brilliant to understand some of the hacks around, getting into New Zealand and what to look for, what to prepare, how to prepare, and all of those things. So, first things first. If I'm someone sitting in South Africa and I am interested in moving to New Zealand, what are the first few things that I need to look out for and that I need to prepare in order to plan this potential journey?
Okay, so the first step I would say would be to find someone on the IAA registrar. So this is a board that has licensed professionals that are given the ability to legally advise for migration routes, any type of migration route for New Zealand. There'll be a list of those. So you're always best to kind of see if there's anybody in your country that's licensed and have them do a full assessment.
So they exist in, like, for example, there would be some in South Africa.
hmm
There would be, but most of them are pretty much in New Zealand, right?
A lot of them are in New Zealand, but they're dotted around.
Okay.
So the good thing, if you're based, for instance, in South Africa, is that there'll normally be someone that's close to you. Like you've got advisors in Cape Town, Durban, Pretoria, Joburg. So you should be able to
Why
find one.
did you pick this career path? Like in terms of New Zealand, because I know there's options out there. There's Canada. Are you from the UK originally?
Yes,
So it's
yes.
like New Zealand, okay, UK. So there's Canada, Australia. Why did you choose New Zealand?
Well, to be very honest, I used to be a political researcher for a
Yes.
period of time. I studied psychology, criminology, and I went into research. And then I met a lady that was running an immigration agency, and she wanted someone to help run the New Zealand department and basically paid for my study. And I just thought it was a great kind of area. I was very interested in helping migrants move.
Mm,
Being a migrant myself from the
yes.
UK in South Africa, I thought that it was an interesting career path to kind of get started in.
So what what is New Zealand looking for in terms of bringing people in? Like, what is their main objective by opening up their borders to foreign migrants? What are they hoping to achieve?
So it's basically to fill the shortage gaps. So there's a list called the green list. Over time, that list has changed. It's now called a green list with various industries where they have gaps. So you'll see, tradesmen, engineers, teachers, medical staff. There's so many gaps of people because New Zealand's so small. A lot of people do travel. They go to the UK working holiday visas, they go to Australia, and they've got a lot of gaps because resulting from this that they need to fill. So that's the main reason, really.
And in your experience, what are the main industries that are like really sought after that they're actually hoping to fill quite quickly?
So currently, a lot of my clients are teachers or tradesmen. So, your main tradesmen, your plumbers, your electricians, your panel beaters, carpenters, and then teachers, IT professions, engineering, construction. probably, yeah.
And if someone's on the fence with regards to selecting like either Australia or New Zealand, what is making people, because like New Zealand's like, if you think about it geographically, it's got like a small little island, quite quaint, like known for its like sheep. Whereas Australia, maybe the initial perception is like that it's maybe more exciting, more
Mm.
metropolitan, more busy, more like what is making people choose New Zealand over potentially Australia?
To be honest, I find it depends where the applicant is based. So in South Africa, a lot of my clients have been Afrikaans and they're looking for, that small community where, they don't want perhaps a big city. So I think that metropolitan kind of factor isn't
Yes,
something that they're factoring on. They want somewhere small and safe to raise their family. I notice a lot of Brits do choose Australia.
mm.
They're looking for somewhere with perhaps different terrains,
Slightly
different.
busier. Like,
Yes, maybe a lot of the younger ones want like more of a party vibe.
yeah,
But yeah, so it's certain types of clients I find that are looking for a smaller, kind of more laid back life. Of course, Auckland, you're going to find, bright lights and everything that you find in
mm,
Australia.
mm,
But then you go to South Island, Christchurch, those areas where,
mm,
they perhaps, as you said, lots of sheep, and the weather in winter will be more similar to England,
mm.
and they're looking for kind of a slower, laid back life.
Okay.
So yeah.
You mentioned the green list. Like I've heard this before. It's like this list of occupations that they've recognized as of national interest. They want to bring these people in. Um, is it possible to move to New Zealand if you're not on that list?
Yes. So, yes. The only thing with occupations not on the list is there won't be as many job offers. Now, with New Zealand, everything, the pinnacle of the move is the job offer. Unlike other countries where there's routes to go on a skilled route, but without gaining a job offer, with New Zealand, it's
So even if you're on the green list,
you
you
need.
still need a job offer.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, everyone needs a job offer from an accredited employer, which is an employer that's registered with the government to hire foreigners.
Employer must be accredited with the government to
Yeah.
bring in foreigners.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, but yes, it's easier for employers if you meet the green list. So for instance, let's say you are electrician
Yeah.
and you get your registration in New Zealand and you earn the required pay rate, then you would meet the stipulations for getting your work visa through that route.
And does the green list open you up to other residency pathways that are more permanent or
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So with the green list, you've got tier one and tier two. And what that means is tier one, you get residency immediately with a job offer.
Mm,
Tier two, you have to wait 2 years. So it enables people to get residence outside of the points-based route,
okay.
which is, similar to Australia or Canada, where you'll get points for various factors. So it's a kind of a shorter way in for those people that they really, really want. Yeah.
And I heard that New Zealand is a little bit more open to allowing applicants that are over the age of 45. And we know because we've spoken about it before in terms of the limits that Australia imposes. Um, Tell us more about that. So, if you say 50 years old, there's still a chance that you can go and move there.
Yeah, New Zealand has one of the oldest age limits, so 55. So as long as you haven't turned 56, you
Yes.
can still get residence if you're going on a job offer. Excuse me. There are other routes,
Mm,
partnership routes, parent routes, child, all of those. But if we're talking about going in a skilled capacity, 55 is the oldest, which, compared to other countries where, with Canada, your age decrease, when your age decreases, your points do.
yeah.
Same with Australia, cut off in most cases 45. So 55 is a great alternative for any client that, you know, might not meet stipulations
Sure.
through age or maybe through their skills. Maybe they
Yeah.
can't pass a skills assessment, then New Zealand is a good backup.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the elephant in the room with regards to age and employment. Employers naturally want to employ younger people because they get more longevity out of those individuals, and but I think New Zealand are quite open to accommodating 45+ year olds, which is great,
Mm.
and we've seen like quite a few go over. Um, in terms of how to and this is the burning question, because I know that a lot of people watching this will have difficulty, especially if they've experienced it before, in trying to secure that perfect job offer. And it's not easy. It's like quite a
Mm.
difficult thing to do. So, if you were in an employer, let's say you were a sponsored employer, that means that you are able to bring in a foreigner. What would you want to see? Say you're looking for an electrician abroad. What would you want to see in that person's application that will allow you to favor that application and possibly offer that individual a job? Like, what would you want to see?
So I think in the past, I've seen a lot of people where they haven't consulted a licensed advisor, and they've basically gone, "Oh, well, I'm a motor mechanic, and I'm sure I'll fit the criteria." They get on a plane, they go look for a job, or they contact employers when, in actual fact, they don't know if they meet the health criteria. They don't know if they've, maybe a criminal record that pops up, if they've got enough work experience. So having an advisor on board and perhaps working with what we'd call an employment coach who can kind of prepare their CV, prepare their LinkedIn, their Seek profiles, and just make everything look more professional.
So, an employer would actually like to see the fact that you, the applicant, have taken all the measures possible to do this correctly, and having an advisor on board is something that they'd naturally like to see
Mm,
because you're doing it right. And it also
yeah.
tells a lot of story around your character as the applicant. You like to do things properly. You like to take do due diligence. You like to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're executing properly with
Mm.
professionalism, and it's also a good thing to have on in the application.
Yeah, because a lot of people have come to me with a declined application,
Yeah.
and it can be a variety of things. It can be that, their CV hasn't matched their references, or maybe, they've included something that, and the employer or the immigration officer has gone, "Well, hang on a minute, you said this, but your
Mm.
reference says this." It's all little ways you
So to
can,
the untrained eye, you're gonna miss these things, right? You
yeah.
think that this, that, and in actual fact, things are working against you at the get-go. You are now, you're now exploring this idea of moving to New Zealand. You're looking for work. You're applying for jobs. Certain things that are happening along the early stages of that journey are already failing.
Mm,
Which, if you an employer looking at local citizens and foreign applicants, if there's anything that's going to cast any doubts on your employability, you just get the CV just goes in the bin,
mm,
and then the next person gets looked at. This is the harsh reality of, like, applying, being amongst 100 people applying for the same job.
yeah.
So getting an advisor is the first thing, right? Then what else would you want to do to become more job ready? What are things to do with your, I don't know, your qualifications or your skill set or your application as a whole? What
Mm.
would you want to be? Would you want to be doing
So, depending on your occupation, you might need registration. So, there's a whole list of occupations that need to be registered.
in order to just be considered?
Yeah,
Oh
to be
wow, okay,
considered and to do the visa process as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
As I said, liaising with recruiters, maybe hiring an employment coach that can kind of give you interview tips, connect you with employers, those types of things. Um,
And is it true that they, like, an employer will like go on to like Facebook or LinkedIn and check you out like before? So
yeah,
even just those
to
like
take all
like
the
social
drunk
things.
pictures, people that have like, yeah, this is my weekend, and all of those
Yeah,
aspects I take down.
yeah.
Also, they don't want to see 12-page CVs with like rugby colours and all of that on the bottom from 20 years ago.
They want to see relevant stuff.
Like
They
they
want
want
to,
to see you know, because I have a lot of CVs where they might be even 18 pages long and it's, you know, very, very detailed. They want a 2-page CV.
Yeah.
You know, they're not kind of preoccupied with achievements from the past, and it's all to do with your recent work experience that would, you know, be put into play.
Like things that are relevant.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the other
Yeah.
thing I find a lot of people don't think about is their health. So I've
Yeah.
found you do the application yourself, you know, you pay the fees, you've maybe gone on a trip to New Zealand, but you won't pay extra for an advisor. But unfortunately, perhaps there's a health condition that you haven't thought is relevant.
Mm,
You know, people may be in remission from cancer or various things, even stays, you know, in hospital, anything really can
mm,
kind of cause an issue. And then, of course, that's the last point,
mm,
can get declined. And then now you've got to go to an advisor and restart the whole process again after
mm.
you've had a declined app, maybe lose your job offer. So there's
Yeah.
lots of kind of things. I think that, you know, if I was, you know, a layman doing this process, um, it's like when I moved here, I used someone to do it.
Mm.
You know, I wouldn't have. I've attempted things and they get
I've seen a lot of like,
declined.
yeah, I've seen a lot of situations in the past where it's like almost like migrant work theory. So like the migrant work theory is like a migrant worker would, you know, the breadwinner would travel to work, then earn the salary, then bring back the money
Mm,
back to home, you know? And I've seen there's a lot of it, there's a lot of trend, well, there is a trend with that happening with South African, mostly males, um, just getting on a plane and flying to New Zealand on a visit visa and
yeah.
walking the streets um, looking for work. What are the pros, and if there are any, and the cons to that type of thinking around, you know, the objective is to get a job offer and to be
Yeah.
successful in this mission? I mean, are they all failing? What are the pros and cons to this like idea around doing that?
Okay. So the the pros would be the fact that, you know, you're putting yourself out there and you're meeting people face to face, and you're as long as you've got proper appointments set up and you know where you're going and you've called them beforehand, or perhaps you're going to see recruiters in person, it shows a lot of initiative. However, the cons are, if you haven't liaised with, say, an advisor or a recruiter or anyone that has given you advice on, you know, whether you qualify, all of the aspects that I covered before, then, you
You
know,
could do it all for nothing.
yeah, you're spending, you know, 25 grand on a flight. But if you'd have just engaged the services of someone like me, that could have saved you a trip. It might be that, I don't know, you've got 1 year experience and you need two,
Yeah.
or um
Got to meet the certain minimum standard
yes.
requirements for a work permit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or perhaps, you know, you might be a semi-skilled tradesman, and, you know, employers I've worked with want you to have a trade test normally.
Mm,
And you might have worked for 20 years, but you don't have that. Or perhaps, for instance, I don't know, an engineer, but there's no qualifications, and or construction project manager, and often those clients will, that I've worked with, will have maybe even a master's.
mm.
So you need to know what you're up against, what's your competition, what the, you know, specs are for that visa.
Sounds complex. It's not
Yes.
not straightforward.
And the other thing is whether you would qualify for residence, because I've had people come to me and they've done all of that, and
Yeah.
I've said, but hang on a minute, there's no pathway. You
Yes.
need to ensure there's a pathway to stay.
There's no point in just going over
Yes.
for a year or two and
Yes.
then not having that pathway.
And some people, unfortunately, due to things they read online, this is why I always say be cautious with forums and groups and all of these Facebook,
Yeah.
you know, groups that you've got,
Yeah.
is they say, oh well, my friend was a carpenter and he's got residence and
Mm,
citizenship now. And then you say, yes, but 5 years ago it was different.
mm,
It's constantly changing. And I think having someone that is in the industry allows you to see, okay, well, how has it changed?
mm.
In 1 year's time, is it going to be different? They're always bringing out new
Mm.
Yeah.
So do you if someone approaches you via email, maybe you go back to your desk now and someone sends you an email, are you happy to consult with that person to let them know if they qualify free of charge, or how do you normally work in those instances?
So I used to charge a proper like hour assessment fee where I would get them to fill in a questionnaire and get all their documents
Yeah.
and everything, meet with them for an hour. But the only problem with that is, it's better for me just to have a quick glance over and see whether it's worthwhile because
And you got a trained eye, so you can
yes,
kind of
so
spot stuff
you
like,
can spot that,
yeah,
and I think it's a quicker process because some people it might be 2 3 weeks before they can meet,
yeah.
and then I can look at it and be like, oh no, this country will be better.
Mm.
So I don't want to waste people's time.
Sure, and you also got a lot of experience with Australian migration as
Mhm.
well. So, we would, you would get an inquiry. If the person doesn't qualify for New Zealand, there might be an opening for
Yes.
Australia, and vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's quite good to be able to kind of juggle between them. Often you'll get someone that won't meet the specs for a skills assessment.
yeah.
And then for New Zealand, you can get a tradesperson on the green list, doesn't need any type of assessment or anything, just needs a hourly rate for, say, the period of 2 years, get residence. So you think, oh, well, if they can't do Oz, then we
So
can.
the qualifying criteria could, in some instances, be less for certain occupations.
Yes. Yeah. So, for instance, most tradesmen for Australia need a skills assessment
Yeah,
that can be a 2 or 3 stage process. Whereas for New Zealand, you know, perhaps there's nothing.
yeah.
Either maybe an NZQA assessment, which takes about 5 or 6 weeks, all on paper, or it might just be they need a certain hourly rate.
Mm.
And of course, clients get very stressed about having to do any type of, interview or tests or, go to a test center or anything.
And what about English language tests? Do they need to do that?
When they do residence, yes.
Residency.
Yes.
So when you, it's like
Yeah.
that's right at the
Yeah.
end kind of thing.
Unless they are a low skill level,
Yeah,
people from certain countries need to do an English test if they are like a skill level 4 or 5.
yeah.
But I mean, I rarely really deal with people. Most people I deal with are skill level 1 to 3,
Mm.
don't need a test, but the test doesn't come with points. So that's the nice thing because they don't need,
You either pass or you don't. There's no like points
yes.
associated with it.
So the
Yeah,
score that they need is, especially for a partner or children, is relatively low.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, depending on a country, one could be a great fit, another isn't, and you just, yeah. So it
Um,
helps.
so say someone decides to use your services, could you describe like um, the opening few months of what would they be experiencing? What would they be going through? Some of the things that you'd be doing with them in terms of the onboarding process, some of the obligations that they have to kind of play their part in supplying documents to you.
Mm.
If you could just describe just holistically like this journey that someone would, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about starting this process for New Zealand. What could they expect in terms of doing this?
So once we've kind of established that it's a good route for you and what the route will be,
Yep.
they'd come on board. I would supply them with all the documents that I need. We have a dedicated client portal, which is probably one of the best I've ever worked with, being honest. And each tab will have the document. They drop down, they put all the documents in the tabs, and it makes it very interactive, so it's great for the client.
Mm.
So there's no like emailing documents, and it keeps them kind of in check. So what they need to do is ensure that they're uploading all of these documents, because obviously if they're not doing that, we can't get you job ready. So
And it's
that's,
things like that relate to
yes.
their normally to their occupations, right?
Yes. Yeah.
References and transcript,
Yeah.
qualification
Your
certificates.
passports,
Yeah,
your birth certificates, your all your bits and bobs.
yeah.
So yeah, they need to kind of constantly engage with that process, and make sure that the kind of, I think a main point is making sure you're ready to do it, because
Mm.
I think some people they're kind of on the fence and they'll go for it, but they're not really of the mindset that, right, I'm going to go for this.
Mm,
In terms of, I mean, as an advisor, I'm not a recruiter, so I
mm.
would pass them on to other people to look at the job search side,
Yeah.
or they can look at it themselves, but they need to be kind of geared for, you know, really getting into that hunt,
Mm,
because any employers or recruiters or anyone can then reach out to me, check that they meet all the
mm.
stipulations. I write a letter for their CV, but it is a two-way street, because you give people all of the info and they need to kind of,
Mm.
you know.
It's definitely a misconception. I've been in the industry for a long time and doing a lot of Australia work as well. And I think if you're planning on moving abroad, which is super exciting, super amazing, and you're going to have the most amazing experience and life abroad, but also to understand that the role that you play as the applicant is vital.
Mm,
As an advisor or as a company helping individuals like this, we can professionally do a very good job if there's a lot of buy-in from the applicants. And that's where I
mm,
find, in my experience in this game, that we've had the best successes when the client's fully committed, fully involved, and working with you hand in hand. And I think where we see some issues down the line is when clients like they perhaps come on board and there's a massive expectation to do everything, but we need so much
yeah.
from the client themselves, especially when it comes to documentation. So if they
Yeah.
are like on the ball and they're applying for things and they're helping us help them, then it's
Yeah.
almost always an amazing experience.
Yeah, because some people have said to me, "Oh, but don't you go and get my documents from Home Affairs? Don't you, you know, being on board, don't you go and do that?" And I said, "Well, I can't go to the police station. I can't go to Home Affairs. I
So
can't,
guys, you
you
will
know."
be doing a little bit of work. You will be doing a little bit
it's
of work.
yeah, it's all kind of like protected info. I can't kind of.
Yeah.
So that is something that, and I was quite surprised that I've had that in the past, but I've had it of quite a few times
Mm,
where people have said, "Oh, but I thought you would get all of them." And I've said, "Well, I can give you names of companies that can expedite it,
mm.
but they're not going to give me, you need
Your
to,
police clearance. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you
You
need
need
to
to.
give it to me." There's also companies I've found where, you know, they supply, it's not called, it's not a police clearance, it's kind of like a check, it's more for employment,
Oh
but they've
yes, I've heard. Yeah,
told
I've heard of it.
clients that they can use it for immigration because of course they charge for
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So little things like that you need
Another
to,
reason why to use an advisor, to
yeah,
get the
and you
right
need to
things.
communicate and ask, is this the right thing?
Yes.
Because you'll find that everyone wants to make money.
Yeah.
It has to be your proper acro police check from the UK,
Mm,
or your police clearance from SAPS. You can't
yeah.
just use the employment ones that you might use for your job.
Yeah.
Again, anything on your police record, even if it's 10 years ago, depending
Mm,
on what the outcome was, very important to kind of ask
mm.
about those things.
All our clients are very well behaved, so they've got nothing wrong with their police records. They're all clear.
Yeah.
Tell
No
us.
speeding, no drinking.
Yeah, that is unfortunately a big problem in this country. Most of the things that you find on police clearances are to do with DUIs and things like that. So
Yes.
guys, don't drink and drive, please.
No,
Please.
no.
It's silly.
Um, but yes, there's different regulations depending on if you're doing a work
Yeah,
visa.
what's the leniency? If they spot something that you did 8 years ago, maybe you had a joint with your friend when you were young, or I don't know what.
Mm.
But like, what is the leniency situation? How do they view those things?
So
Is there space for rehab,
yeah.
rehabilitation?
So it depends. There's a set number of offences
Mm.
where, for instance, if you spent a certain amount of time in prison, then it would be out. Or if you've been deported, or if there's certain things where there is no leeway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
They call it section 15 or 16
And
of
it's
the
sometimes
act.
to do with like assaults or sexual offenses. Are
There's
those in
also
that
that.
category?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
also a list where, things against a country or terrorism, or,
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
certain things where you know. But then there's other instances where if something was over 10 years ago
Yeah.
and I don't know, maybe you paid a fine, or it really just depends what the offense
Very
was.
discretionary. They would look
Yes.
at it each case by case. There's no
Yeah.
like blanket rule.
So
Yeah.
there is kind of a rule on the immigration rules that,
Yeah.
sorry, so that, can
It's
you
like
ask me that question
it's
again?
like it's like the structuring. It's like so the government would like have something on their website which states like you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have this. With this, we'll be lenient with that. Maybe I don't know.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
each case is so
So
different.
it's different, but the only thing with the South African police clearance often is it will say something like, oh, either 12 months suspended sentence or a
Uh,
fine, but then it won't say what the person did. So then we have to go and kind of
and
maybe
they'll want to know.
find,
They'll want to
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Oh
because we
wow.
want to know, well, did you, where's the proof? Did you serve a
Mm,
suspended a suspended sentence, or
mm,
did you pay the fine?
mm,
You know, because the client usually says, oh, I paid the fine,
mm,
but there's no proof.
mm.
So that's the only problem with the
It's all
essay.
these little nigglies, huh?
Yeah,
You got to be careful when
yeah.
we're
So I
doing it.
usually just get them to you know, well, I won't give away all my secrets. I don't want to tell you what I do.
That's great.
But yeah,
Sarah, it's been awesome chatting to you. It's been really, really cool.
you too.
I'm yet to actually go to New Zealand, so I'm gonna try and do that
Hobbitville.
so
Come see
someday.
Hobbitville.
I know that we're going to Australia probably within the next year or two. My wife's got family out there. Maybe take a little
Get
trip
to do
down there.
Bali though, you
I've
see,
never,
because
oh, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us. I know it's like we've been wanting to do this for so long. We finally sitting here
yes,
doing it,
we
so
did.
we're both quite chuffed actually. But yeah, hope to chat to you soon, and all the best.
Thank you.